We're getting started. And welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And I'm just, oh, my heart is so wide open right now.
Mm.
Um, and it's because of Christina. And Christine and I have actually she's been guiding me through sessions, and I've been opening up, and we've been attuning, I'll say, to each other. But the conversations that happen before the conversations happen, and how they bring rise into this just knowing or nudge or invitation as to what's in the field. It happens so organically and so effortlessly in this communication that I feel with Christine, and I have a feeling you'll feel that as well. And there's going to be quite a beautiful field of awareness of sharing and expansion that I am anticipating that is going to occur on today's broadcast. And I'm calling it a broadcast because it's precisely that. So with that, I want to invite you to just be in the energy of what's flowing through, whether it's in the mind, in the heart, in the ethereal, if it's grounded, and know that it's all perfect, but there's a reception to be acknowledged, received, explored, and discovered. That I really feel that we're dropping into. So this is going to be a really special call. I've been feeling it for a while. And Christine actually reached out to me. It was early last summer. It's like, hey, I've got a special program coming up. It's for your community. I can hold off on putting it off. Let's try to fit it in. If not, we'll just wait until fall. And here we are in fall. And the timing couldn't be better. And I understand now why the energy was asking me to wait, because I've been receiving so much from these transmissions. And it's time to put it into perspective for a larger audience. And I'm wondering what you as an audience member participating are going to gift to the space as well, not just receive, but in your energy to gift also. So it's going to be a phenomenal call. I feel already. We'll get into Q&A. So you're going to want to raise your hand, ask your questions. We'll get into Q&A a little bit later. There's definitely going to be a transmission coming through. I asked Christine to drop into it. I received something so beautiful from her last week. It had me in tears. So I highly suggest that you hang out for that. And it's with that. It's Christine. I don't even want to get into reading your bio. I just want to welcome you to the call and thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. Actually, we just are what we are, and it's full and it's complete in the presence here and and being together, all of us. So that feels perfect to me. Thank you.
Yeah. So you and I, when we got on the call before we went live, we really started talking about, and I've been talking a lot on the show and to you personally, as I've been going through sessions about this push-pull dynamic and the energetics as to how I'm really coming to peace, if you will, with parts of what I perceived were my past, but really what's alive in me now. Mm-hmm. But also a pulling energy that's really inviting me, and I'll say in some instances, dragging me through my own awareness into a realm of dimensions that that I can co-create with. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love it if you talk a little bit now about your awareness about what you would call dimensional discrimination or bias, and how you see how that is shifting our perspectives and our capacities to be with the different judgments of the access that we have to the spiritual realm, and also to the very grounded etheric realm or elemental realm as well.
Yeah, perfect. Gosh, I love that. Yeah, I was really loving our discourse on that. So first thing, I want to just reflect something you said, like things that seem almost about your past, but it's really what's alive in you now. I just feel like you opened up an amazing portal with that, which is that's all that's ever happening is what's alive in us now, whether that's a past life or an experience that we've had, in our formative years or anything. It's really about what is alive in us now. So I would invite everybody gathered here to take a breath and tune into what's alive in you now. as we go into this discussion about dimensional bias, because it fits. I mean, it's really relative. It's really pertinent. So, what's alive in me now? It's our presence. It's our breath. It's our being, and it's so alive, and it brings into and alivens anything that we wish to create with. Anything that we wish to create with will come through like an energy stream, whether that's shame from the past or excitement about the future. It'll come through us as life, as an energy stream. So that's really what we're talking about, is vibration, right? We're talking about frequency. So when we move into talking about dimensions, and we hear a lot about, oh, well, we're moving out of the third dimension and we're all living the fifth dimension. We do this and we do that. It's a very interesting thing. It's a bit to me like people saying, oh, well, I'm from Andromeda, or I'm from Sirius, or I'm Lemurian, or it feels to me like more levels of distinction, which is actually separation. So when we move into a dimensional awareness that's beyond bias, just here in these bodies, in this dimensional plane of Earth, I see 9 to 11, depending on how we're looking at it, primary dimensions. And they're all like incredibly helpful and gifting and rich and amazing. And none are better or worse. They're just different, like everything is. So 3D to me is that incredible plane of physical creation on the surface of the planet. And it's incredible. And 1D I see as the iron crystalline core of the earth, and it's like incredibly hot and still solid. It's like tremendous creative potential. Let's talk about 2D briefly. It's there in that space between the core and the surface of the earth, and it vibrates at a hertz that is incredibly gifting to our nervous system. It settles us, it's peaceful, it helps us heal. These are just what we call lower dimensions of density, and they have amazing gifts. So that's just like one little bit of framing of why is one thing better than another. And I really think when we're talking about transcending 3D and moving into 5D, what we're really talking about most of the time is getting out of the distortions of the fourth dimensional plane, the astral mental field, where all the wonkiness comes in, where really all the patterns of control are, and programs of control, where thought as it creates, we're so used to creating through the fourth dimensional field, which is thought, and it's just not satisfying to us. And then when we keep going, we get into 5D, of course, divine heart. That one, I feel like we all kind of have this natural tuning to her, right? Like, that's like so beautiful. Let's go to 5D, of course, the divine heart. But then we get into 6 and 7, like sacred geometry and sound, where you create directly from the morphogenic field, and you don't have to go through 4D weirdness in the mind. I mean, there's just so much richness to all of it. And then that piece that you were talking about, what's pulling you, what's like almost feels like that future urge. I see that as when we live in the spaces of divine mind, and in the space of pure being, and in the space of the unity field. And those are those upper dimensional places. Yeah, they do pull us. I mean, and they drag us forward because we already exist there. Of course, something in us is just magnetically drawn. It's not like that isn't here yet. It's maybe our awareness isn't fully bridged to it yet, but it's absolutely here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting with the talk of the different dimensions. Also, there's a perception. It's perhaps we've talked about it in community about 3D and the density and the judgment of it, and we think that if we eliminate 3D, that our suffering, our pain, our confusion, that we'll meet our perfect partner, that the perfect job will come in, that money scarcity issues won't be an issue, and those things are actually byproduct of just the consciousness that we hold as we transcend through the 4D into an alchemy that takes us into other levels of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. In a sense, every dimension ascends together, really. It's not like we leave one and all the sort of lesser things behind. It's that it's more actualized into its true nature.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is it that you assist the different people that you work with to really attune into the integrity of what's happening through their dimensional experience, whether it be 3D or 9D,
Mm-hmm.
to really acclimate to what's flowing through, as opposed to being in this place of confusion, resistance, or even a collective pull push that might not belong, that isn't part of their sovereign journey.
Hmm. Yeah, and really, you just described the distortions of the fourth dimensional plane perfectly. So there's a huge, huge aspect, which is rebalancing our energetic constitution, our frequency mastery, by becoming more familiar and attuned to different dimensions, and like we all have ways of doing it. And we're all actually quite good at it and already know what to do with that. So some people are like, well, I feel really connected. I feel transcendent even when I take a walk barefoot in nature. And that'll be somebody's way.
Mhm.
For someone else, it'll be literally like dropping their awareness down into their heart. For somebody else, it'll be connecting in a conversation with someone that enlivens another dimension within them. For me, one of the main things that I noticed was that I had to learn, and I guide others in this, how do we enter a different brainwave state? It's actually that. Because there's certain frequencies to the things that you described, when we get into confusion or we get into this or that, whatever those snags and drags are, they're almost always related to our mental field and the way that that interfaces through our nervous system.
Mhm.
So I have tools I go to. For me, the energy transmissions that I offer, I give to myself every day. The sound that I work with, I offer myself every day, because I, like every one of us, I'm a physical animal. There's just this biological animal aspect. And it's been so much of awareness has been co-opted by distortions of the mind. And when I say that, I really mean things that are intentional out there in the field, the way that our own thoughts become beliefs based on our core wounds, and the way that those turn into the things that we think about ourselves and the world. I mean, their distortions come in that realm at all places. However, everything is really touched on. So when I'm talking about sound or energy transmissions, it's all actually tuning us into a deeper sense of our own presence, our own awareness, our own being that is completely transcendent of this body, of this
Mhm.
personality, of this identity. It's just too small for us anymore. Identity is too small. And
Yeah.
and we've done a lot of self-actualization and done a lot of this piece and that piece. There's still pieces and they're just too small. So really, my primary love and passion is, listening to you at the level of your incredible wisdom and presence and radiance and brilliance. And let's just reflect that back in a way and hold a vibrational frequency in a sense that matches you, what you are, that wisdom, that master that you bring through, so that you can see it, so that you can experience it, so that you can perceive it and know it, and then live from there. And I do that with myself. It's like I have to stop and go, what does my presence know about this? What does my presence tell me? What does awareness see and know? And you can just feel it. Like, even as I say those words, everything gets bigger and more spacious. And whatever the problem or the constriction, it gets tinier in relationship. And this big spaciousness of awareness meets it with love. Yeah, that's the main way I work with that and show other people.
Yeah, and again, to give just my example of how we work together in those sessions, we'll just sit or just like stare. And a lot of times I won't say anything on purpose because I'm waiting to see what you're going to say.
Mm,
If I would say something, it's like automatic. It's like Christina, and you and I work actually very similarly.
mhm.
It's like, oh wow, it's like you're carrying this, but you're showing me this,
Yeah.
and you're showing me this other thing, and it's like you bring us to our self-awareness. You're bringing us to what our energetic field actually knows,
Yes.
and our mind, that fourth dimensional body, is trying to construct based on what the mind is capable of, based on the experiences it's had up to now that it can remember.
Mhm.
whether it's conscious or subconscious.
Hmm.
And so again, this vibrational accord that's taken in place through this level of accessing self from the higher dimensional planes,
Mm-hmm.
grounding it in, integrating into the ego, and then realizing it as a core aspect of self and the creation
Yeah.
that's taking place. So it's phenomenal how you do that.
That just makes me so happy just to even hear you just talk about, like, you just gave everybody this beautiful picture, and this whole energetic like description of what we all can do and are. And oh yeah, and absolutely, yes, it comes through and partners with the ego. We all have ego is that individual identity, sense of I. We don't, that's not going to go away ever. It's our job, our task isn't to like annihilate that. It's to allow it to be in a new role of divine service, to allow it to be in an elevated relationship, like literally with the heaven that we are. Yeah.
Yeah, so the merging of all that, the understanding, and then we get to know ourselves through that understanding. Not just with compassion, but if there's really a power that comes through it.
Mm-hmm.
An understanding of just what's really guiding it every breath.
Oh my God. So you just showed this really beautiful thing, was that because you said the compassion, right? So literally that lack of compassion for ourselves is something that you just showed it so perfectly, is something that completely inhibits our power.
Mm.
So because if we are making ourselves, in some way bad or wrong or whatever, well, that's essentially a lie. And or if we're hard on ourselves or whatever it is, that's one of those simple ways that the ego will come in and actually feel like an adversary. At that point, I'll feel like, kind of your problem or your enemy, the messages of shame or of not good enough or of guilt or of whatever it could be that we burden ourselves with. That lack of compassion functions as like a brake pedal on your vehicle of power. It's like, it's literally, you're trying to take off and it's like pulling you backward. It's so interesting. And you just showed that when we meet ourselves in that way with compassion, then the power comes through. Yeah, I mean, we do. It's like, it's essential, actually, that quality is essential for transcendent embodiment of all the power that we are. It can't get through a stingy space. Yeah.
Right. Well, speaking about stingy spaces, and we're talking about the different dimensions, and we talk about the fourth dimension.
Mm.
What's the component of the fourth dimension that's so necessary in this alchemy?
Well, it's amazing, actually, because it is a bridge between the earth plane and the plane of the divine heart. And it's also, to me, it's like the translator. It's the necessary translation piece, that's what the brain, the mind is really, really good for, and then is for execution as well, right? When you have helping to bring whatever that divine inspiration is, and it's combined with the love of the heart, and then it's going to manifest in 3D. And it's like, well, it actually needs a few steps. It has its place. It's interesting. It's become, I just see it's like anything, that when one of your greatest strengths is in excess, it becomes a weakness. So if everything's kind of coming to that as a source of wisdom, yeah, then it gets distorted. But if you use it and allow it to be the tool to be, I mean, it's brilliant. I love brilliant minds. I mean, and I love the way that thoughts are so connective, and they move it, instantaneously. I mean, it has a tremendous amount of multidimensional brilliance to it. It's just that when it sort of gets elevated as an isolated god, the mind, it's a problem. Or well, it's a challenge, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely a rub for sure. Because
Yeah.
when we get to that level of mastery, if we hold on to the ego of mastery, then we're stuck in that dimensional plane of creating. It's a loop, it's a pattern that keeps regurgitating, and an ever expanding consciousness. When we get to that mastery, that really the mastery in the mastery is to let it all go.
Yeah, because what if you didn't have to think about it? Yeah, you didn't actually have to think about it. You just simply allowed it to interface through the mind, which helps bring it into creation. But you bypass all that thinking about and considering and what if and maybe and is it good or is it bad and all that other stuff. And instead, you don't actually have to quote think about it. You allow the mind to be the translator that it is, so that there's a more instantaneous bringing through of other dimensional, whether it's lower or higher. Yeah.
I love what you're showing me now, because it's this wave really that goes through the different dimensions. And awesome. So we took it from second to third, and we got into the fourth, and then the mind thing, and we excelled it into the fifth or sixth or seventh or wherever. But then wherever that mastery component decided that it was in mastery, it
Yeah.
back down into it, back into the fourth, the mental time frame. So there's
Yeah.
these waves that we're playing with, going in and out. So it's not a higher, I guess you can call it a hierarchy, but not really. But
No, I
there's
see what you're saying.
places that we get to visit and have experiences in, and they're all merging really into the aspect of the one.
Yes, and so I see that as a vertical axis where all of these are accessible at once. I mean, they're just all right there. And when we stay in a sense, it's almost like in center in the one, like you said. So you don't have to be like, wait a minute, am I going to do third dimension or am I going to do fifth? Or, I better figure this out because by God, we're right back into the mind, and instead you stay, you're like, wow, actually there is an allness. And so what am I tapping into? Where does my awareness go now? Where am I guided? Because we can say, let's be present. Well, God, you can be present to 1,000 different things. I could go be present to Lemuria as it existed however many thousand years ago, and I'm very present to that. Well, am I present to this physical room in that moment? Not as much, probably, right? So presence is outside of time and space as well. So when our presence is let's just say welcoming of all of the aspects, when it says yes, there's no resistance and no judgment, and our presence is here, then what's asked for in that moment? Yeah. And it does become this wave of stuff. Yeah, I really see I see the simplicity. In a sense, we might call it density, but it's almost like it's more straightforward. If you were going to go shapes, it'd be like squares and triangles. And by the time you get up, to me, it's kind of like this. It gets more and more refined. It gets more and more intricate and complex, but it's different vibrational streams. This is, to me, John, this is when people talk about deities and angels, I perceive them as vibrational realities. And they're distinct. Every vibration is its own thing, or combination of things, or complexity of things. And so as we are in the one and in the whole, well, then it's like, oh, well, here comes Ashtara through, and that's this vibration, and it brings this gift, and it has this feel. And to me, they're not necessarily, I'm not saying they're not beings or people. I just experiencing them primarily as dimensional reality, or as dimensional vibrational realities. That's what everything is. Like, what a beautiful space to be in.
It's also the meaning that we've assigned to it based on our experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Names, meanings. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So it brings in all these beautiful, again, waves of streams that we can mold and create with. And so as we're accessing, again, these different streams of intelligence, and we have more access to it seems now collectively.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that we start streaming into potential creations now? How is it that people that are on the call that are I don't know what to do about COVID and the vaccine, or I don't know what to do about finances, and my relationships are changing? How does this all relate to these very
human, I know, so
aspects, and bring it into this grounded form of being now?
I was so hearing them too. They're like, this is really interesting. However, there's that piece that's needed. Like, what does this have to do with my life? So, because immediately right before you asked that question, I started getting, oh, we really need to just actually drop in and have a second dimensional experience right now. Yeah. So this dimension, which vibrates like at the theta brainwave state, which is like between 4 and 8 hertz. And it's so soothing for the nervous system and the body. So let's just go there because we can. And so if people are like, I don't know how to go there, then you just like, they look at you or at me and just go, okay, well, I'll have whatever they're having or do whatever they're doing. And I don't know what, guess what? You don't need your mind to know. We just get to go. So, in this sense, we're just going to take a breath. And I'd love for you to just imagine, a vertical axis that runs down into the iron crystalline core of the earth. And also outward out to what I would call the 11th dimension of the unity field. And you span the entire thing. Okay, we are all of it. And so we just go, oh, there's like a really good, and some of us actually need to take a few more deep breaths and really be here now, even just maybe really listening to the words coming out of my mouth and feeling the vibration that's in them and saying, okay, I'm going to drop into that vibration, which goes both down and up and out. And then I'm going to allow my awareness to move to the space between the center of the earth and the crust of the earth. And I'm going to take my body with me through my imagination and let it find a very deep, soft resting place in that vibrational field of the second dimension. And it's okay. You'll find some things may just want to drop out like through your root. It's like, oh God, it's just taking things away that I've been holding, or anxieties or worries or not feeling safe. All of it, it just starts dropping out the bottom. It's like there's plenty of room there. It just gets absorbed into this vibrational plane. And you just take a breath and rest and feel it envelop your body. Feel this vibrational space of these very nurturing, slow undulations of sound and of frequency wrapping around your body, holding you, allowing everything just to like ooze out of your, like seep out through your skin and through your thoughts and through your breath. And it's just taken from you and you rest here. And you just rest. And you may feel like you're snuggled in with some very soft, deep roots of trees. There's plenty of space and light. It's a vibrational space. And it supports and nurtures us all the time and literally helps create and give life to this, all that we see here on the surface of this planet.
Mm.
So that's a very practical experience of how a dimensional awareness can help us. Yeah.
I want to bring consciousness to the emotions and the physical sensations of the body as we've attuned to this energy that you're bringing through, and everybody. And type into the chat box what you've experienced as you're receiving this as well. But for me, there's an interconnectedness that brings a peacefulness. There's peace that comes in. There's all of a sudden like the monkey mind, if there was one, or even if there wasn't one, a slowing down of the mind. So it brings in like a clearer space as well, right? A beautiful calm. Yes, Linda, exactly. There's also in this vibrational state, if you sit in it long enough and then you're receiving it, and I want you all to come back and listen to the replay, and this, we're going to get to sound bowl attunements as well, hopefully. I'm pretty sure we will. There's also this access and that peacefulness to relationship with even higher consciousness simultaneously. And then as we feel that tingling, that's great, Denise. I want to invite everybody on this call listening to the replay as well, that if you're feeling any of these aspects or all of them and more, that's already part of you. That's something that you've already created in you, and that bring an awareness that in that energy, that people who interact with us actually get to benefit from that rising of energy also, because they recognize it within us. So in that, those who want to serve, those who want to be someone that elevates the consciousness of their
Mhm.
community, of their family, and all that, just by the awareness of that, it
Mhm.
happens automatically. I know it happens to you. I
Mhm.
hear it all the time as well. I know many of you on this call hear it all the time. It's like, wow, I'm with you, and I just feel comfortable, and it's
Mhm.
easy. It's so easy to talk to you, or I just feel a peace around you. It's why does it feel so good around whenever I step into your house? And it's just this natural thing that
Mhm.
as we recognize these things within ourselves, it just becomes a natural flow that emanates.
Mhm.
And I believe that we're all doing that.
Mhm. Yeah. I know, yes, absolutely. And I know for myself, I was cut off from my awareness of that for a long time. Like I didn't really get that. And so it's been in the opening up of awareness, of the awakened awareness of what's already here. Like you said, it's something that we all are. And that's my great truth is that we are all this. There, yeah, it's all the same. And we are in varying levels of awareness of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think the awareness and the intelligence that we carry around, that is truly what brings what we would call that Christed consciousness. That
Yeah.
is like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, our connection to what we are, our awareness of that actually does matter. It's what you're describing, John. It's like it exponentializes it. It's yes, it's always there. But as we actually say, ah, yes, and have that, I would say, conscious experience of it, that makes it available both, first of all, to ourselves and then to the world. Absolutely. I'd actually just really love to go. I know this is kind of like boom, boom, but it just really came in just to show and to experience. So here's this, and some people may want to stay in the second dimension. You may not be your time to leave in awareness, to have your awareness go somewhere else. But the energy transmissions that I work with, the heart field transmissions, they're 11th dimensional energy. That it's sources from the unity field, from the field where nothing's ever known separation. It's not this or that, it's all of it at once. And that also is another really beautiful aspect of what we call, or you would just mention, the Christed consciousness, because it's the whole, it's one. And the beautiful thing is every part is also part of the one and the whole. It's not separate from it. And yet there are experiences of more and more and more where we don't, and let's just say in that vibrational plane, we can't find the differences. We can't find the distinctions. And therefore, there's no pain from the things that have seemed to have been sort of at odds with one another, this or not that. So just we're going to do just a couple, if it's okay with you, just a
Yeah.
couple minutes of opening into the heart field transmission, because it was really helpful to quiet everyone's nervous system and the physicality. Some people probably are having tears. They're not going right to calm. They're going to the release that leads to the calm. So just if you're one of those, that's totally fine as well. That's perfect, of course.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same path. It's the same response. It's almost like, well, how dissonant, how apart or separate have I been from this particular vibrational dimension? If we've not been in tune with that deep, sort of slow relaxation, then having that arrive into our perception might feel like pretty rocky at first, because there's a lot of calibration in a sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's all
I,
perfect.
I love as you're speaking about this. And again, I just want to bring awareness to the mental aspect that we talked about early, how the different experiences, even in that, also points back to the dimensional discrimination that we perpetuated within ourselves.
Yeah, it's really sweet of us. We can't help it. We've sort of confused polarity with duality. I mean, that becomes our experience. So
Yeah.
polarity is amazing. It's how we get to be in a, female or male body, or we get to have high notes on the piano or low. I mean, it's awesome. And when the duality is that where it's like the meaning, like you said, is assigned to it, and that always hurts. So this is, in a sense, coming back into this like really divine, harmonic relationship with the all, which we'll notice, oh, this is lower and this is higher, which feels like polarity, but it just all feels like yes, instead of instead of half of it feeling like no. Yeah. So yeah, let's do the heart field energy. So this is obviously another, with all of us, remote transmission outside of time space continuum. It's absolutely equally the same, and what it is, whether live replay. And in this, we're going to just simply, if this has your permission, and I'll begin the energy, and I'll follow it for a few minutes. This comes from the place that's never known separation. So this is its source emanation, is from this unity field. And the way that the energy works is it literally elevates us to that dimension. Whether, by the way, whether we're aware of it or not, it's not, guys, it's not, and gals, contingent or dependent on, am I experiencing something? Does my mind know what's going on? Am I perceiving energy or a sensation in my body? Those things are beautiful and wonderful. It's not the measure of what's happening or if we're getting it or not. You are it already. So that's the measure of what's in your conscious awareness about it. That's all. It's not the measure of your skill or facility or how much you're experiencing it or anything like that. So we'll do just a few minutes of this energy. Feel free to bring an intention if there's something that you would really like addressed by this energy from the unity field. Bring that intention. So let's begin now. A lot of times I do these silently. We'll see if there's, I'll do the bowl with, just to give that as we go. Let's begin the transmission. For everyone listening live or on the replay, who gives their consent to receive the energy and to participate in the co-creation. Allowing the truth of your presence to make itself known to you. For the truth of your presence to speak through your words. For the truth and power of your presence to touch any aspect of you and your life that desires its richness and wisdom and love. A beautiful, pristine, crystalline connection between the divine mind, of which you are part, and the divine heart, of which you are a part. To join and enliven your healing, your knowing, your wisdom and grace. I'm going to stay a moment in this very expanded, pristine vibrational field. Beautiful. It is important that you cease seeking answers with only your mind. For in so doing, You limit the flow of wisdom through your life. Your wisdom comes through to you through all of the dimensions. Your wisdom comes from before and beyond your lifetime now. Your wisdom is the path that you seek to follow when you are looking for answers. When you indulge the mind by following its queries and its questions and its need to know, you limit your power. This in itself is highly creative and highly powerful, but in a direction different than you are interested in going. So recognize and honor the power of your creation as you follow your mind. And realize there's more for you. And now we allow our awareness to gently begin returning to our body, to the space where we sit or lie or stand, bringing with it the knowing of the wisdom that we are, any other messages received, and the fullness of the vibrational experience of encountering ourselves in the space of the One, as the One. And so it is.
Wow. I unmuted myself and took my video out because I wanted you all to transmission of those things. Wow, the place it took me to, and bringing me back to. So beautiful, Christine. I want to segue into your special offer, and because really this reminds me of what your special offer is doing. It's taking us into all the realms, the dimensions of creation. And again, it's the painter being able to use all the colors in the palette. And just to create the potential that's activated within what he's dreaming into life.
Yeah, we are dreaming wide awake and creating, creating the dream of our creation that we wish to experience. And I did really feel, I feel like this package is closer to my heart than anything I've ever offered forward in one of these platforms. And with you, they've been some of my favorites already. But I really looked at all the pieces that we need, and that we need them all, and we are all of them, and it's important to me to address all of them. So
let's address them, and let's have April put the link in the chat box. So if anyone wants to follow through, thank you, April. Y'all, if for some reason it doesn't open, just open up a new browser and go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Christine26, and it'll take you to that same page. And sorry to interrupt, Christine, but I want to make sure everybody had reference. Yeah.
That's where the mind is really important. We need the fourth dimension to get there. That's good. Yeah. And the first item is the Pure Potential series. And we do every dimension. We activate them all. It's actually totally off the chart. Yeah, I barely functioned through those 9 days. I did it in a row. It is a recorded series, but everybody who participated in that has told me they go back repeatedly and listen over and over and over and over. And it's just right there. It's like, it's really powerful. And it's the energy. The primary aspect of that is the energy. They're short and they're almost all the transmission. There's a little bit of information about each day. And then there's this massive energy opening to activate whichever dimension we're on. It's it's actually precious. It's gold. It's stellar. I can't even say enough good things about it because I don't feel like I created it. I feel like I got to be a vehicle that it came through, and the planet needs it. It really needs it, and we need it. I needed it. So that's the first piece. And then with that is the transcending ego masterclass, because we need to address the ways that we're still interfacing through core wounds and what we call limiting beliefs, or the triggers of our emotional field, or our identity with our body. And we can be with those in a way, in an elevated egoic way. It's so funny to say egoic and elevated in the same phrase, that allows each of those things to service in the mastery to being what we are. And so that's what that series is about. And it's actually brilliant. It includes a divine gateway activation for the pineal. That's just totally a mindgasm. I mean, so if you're an energy nut, you know, it's in there along with all of the information. And there's a bunch of channeled messages on everything. I mean, including death and the nature of that. I mean, it just is like, oh my God. So really good. But also that one of the pieces I'm most excited about is in the package, you'll get a month worth, 4 weeks worth of 4 days a week of group transmissions. And it'll be what we just experienced. You get those every day, 4 days a week. You get some beautiful sound alchemies that are really, really potent to track with that. And you can tune in whenever you need to. And so these are the group versions of the individual ones that I do, you know, with my coaching clients, and they're potent and they're powerful and they're incredibly helpful. So if you're like, you know, I need a boost, I need something that reminds me of what I already know. I need the thing that keeps me centered in my power. I know it's here, but how come I'm slipping in and out? This is what that's for. It's like you can bring all your intentions to it and receive it day after day. And it helps you get a greater consistency and stability with embodying all the dimensions. So that's in there. There's a beautiful sound alchemy album that just is awesome for everything that helps your whole system. And then there's a live masterclass. Yeah, and if you jump in on the package now, it depends on when people buy, but the one on October 12th is about it's about learning to channel your own wisdom space, like to really tap into that. How do we do that? How do we access those realms and bring through what our divine being, you know, that thing that I love to guide people in. I'm going to be teaching that in that class. So yeah, it's all in there. It's pretty comprehensive. It's awesome. I'm really excited to offer it. I just feel like it's so incredibly helpful, and the time is now. Yeah, the time is now. And the reason the daily group transmissions are in there is because I was told they need to be in there because it's needed on our planet right now. And it's something that is part of my calling and what I've said yes to help bring through. So yeah.
No, it's beautiful. And as I look through even the 9-day activation series, which is item 1 on this, I'm going through each of the days, and what you and I are doing in private session as we're guiding through all this is occurring in my sessions. Christine and I have an hour session, or she's leading me through 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes sometimes feel longer than the hour session because of what's coming through.
I know.
As well. And then where's this information coming from? And it's just, when there's you in source, there's everything.
You get, yeah, you just keep going, right? And you just keep receiving, and you just keep going, oh my God, yes, yeah. And then it interfaces through all the like details of your life, right? It's not just about, oh, this is a really great concept and we're all really wonderful energy. No, it's actually about, well, how does that work out for my finances? And how does that work out for my job? And how does that work out for my relationships and my body and my health? I mean, it's all of it, right? The divine is in the details, and these are the aspects that help us open to more of all that we are, so that that's all one field. It's not like, oh, here's the practical stuff and here's the transcendent stuff. No, it's what we're doing. Yeah.
And then in the second item, again, that's the second item is a 7-module masterclass. It's a video masterclass. And I love that you're right. Ego is not bad or good. It simply is. And for me, I say ego isn't bad. It's just misunderstood.
Yeah, nice.
And
yeah.
we're redefining ego to take ego along with us instead of trying to eliminate this thing, pretending that it's not supposed to be part of us. It is. It is. So the way that you get into this aspect, I mean, you get into triggers, the mind field, emotional density, but you really, again, how many of y'all can relate to any of these questions or statements? I'm afraid of my power. It isn't safe to be who I am. It isn't safe to be loved even. I'm alone. There's something inadequate or problematic about my, and you fill in the blank, cancer, body, mind, relationship choices. If I fully transcend my mind, I won't be able to function. I can simply understand what's happening in my life and why I'll be okay.
Mm.
And I love that you bring these questions in and how the ego is running this and how it keeps us in this perpetual loop of that fourth dimensional mental realm that is waiting to pop so we can have these other experiences that are really here to enliven our being.
Oh man, can I just throw something in that's super current and practical? If there are any of you out there worried about control paradigms happening in the larger collective,
Yes.
this is where they get you. This is where you are prey in this fourth dimensional field. This is where you are the
Oh,
easy
yeah.
target because we're out of balance in that dimension, and that's where we get like sucked in and hooked into whether it's I believe this or I believe that, or here's the narrative, or here's the duh, or here's the problem. That is where it's a control paradigm and it's all fourth dimensional, and you don't actually have to submit.
Yeah. This is so, I'm loving this package, y'all, because this is, again, I'm experiencing this on one-on-one sessions. Y'all are getting it
Yeah.
for 47. I'm trust me, I am not getting it for $147. Of course, I'm doing one-on-one. That's a whole different story. That's another option on Christine's website that if you want to get into that investment, I'm not sure if it's available or not, but it's there. But I love how you're bringing in also this lucid journey into the pineal gland as part of the
Mhm.
master class
Oh
as
my
well.
God, yeah, we can go there.
All
Yeah,
right.
and yeah, it's awesome. It's really worth it.
Uh, and then of course you get into the sound alchemies, and you've heard Christine voicing, bringing us into a certain level of harmonic vibrational awareness. You've heard the bowl and how that acts as a beautiful empowering trigger
Mm,
for access, because triggers don't always have to be bad. They
that's
could
true.
be on the switch, right?
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
haven't heard Christina chanting, singing, um, sounding in that. So this is going to be part of the experience. Well, and you've got your channeled messages and energy transmissions.
Mhm,
Um, this is amazing. The sound for ascension, item 4,
mhm.
brings strength and clarity. Again, the live, you've got 2 live interactive master
Mhm.
classes, or is it more? There's 1 live interactive master class, but there's an extra
And
live
then
event.
there's a bonus, and they vary depending on what date again. So it'll either be like a live energy transmission, or it'll be a channeling event, or it could be a sound bath. It just depends. Again, I have one of those that I'll throw in depending on when they sign for the package.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, this is an epic package, and thank you for thinking of me when you were guided to create it last summer. Um,
Mhm.
and thank you for your patience and allowing it to be released here on BTO. This is so alive.
It
Um,
really felt like it was for your audience. I knew that. I knew that it was for this audience, and also just for the co-creation that you and I do together, that's where it belonged. Yeah.
this is wonderful. I want to get into Q&A in a second. So if anyone has questions for Christine, or you want to get into some energy transmissions, we'll open up to that. So raise your hand. I'm gonna start promoting some of y'all to panelists. But before we do that, again, the special offer, the links in the chat box, click in the chat box in there, or go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Christine26, and it'll take you to that same page. Again, $147, 2 payment option on that as well, if that makes it easier for your fourth dimensional mind to say yes to it. Um, you're going to receive so much from this. I'm so excited that this is here for all of us to participate in. So definitely take advantage of it. And we have a few people with your hands up. There's not that many people with hands up. So if you guys really want to ask questions, I highly recommend that you take advantage of this now. And as I'm promoting other people to panelists, Christine, how has this been? I know you've had your experience of you and I in session, but you've been working with other people with these energetics. What has shifted in your awareness of their awareness?
Oh man. They're actually so potent. It's like it's actually just this huge catalyst for everything that everybody's choosing, like that they're really choosing most consciously. So I've had people tell me that they finally found what they've wanted all their life, which was their own abiding presence and having their own back so deeply that they can't ever not have it again. That sort of thing. I mean, I loved that in the chat, somebody said their migraine was completely gone. People have tremendous physical responses as well. Really common is deep expansions of consciousness into greater awareness of all that you are. And then, of course, that makes every area of your life easier, because the more that we're aware of truly our capacities and our power and our wisdom, that brings all of that to anything in our lives. We're still going to be in our human bodies, but there's more of us with our life, so all of that has been happening. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely these awarenesses streaming up within me and being in that energy with you. It's like, oh, hold on a second. And I can't say a release of something that perhaps I was intertwined in, but really an integration of it as it's being carried forward with a wisdom and compassion and an intelligent awareness. It's like, wow, it's like
Yeah.
it's molded into the next creation,
Yeah,
right?
you're showing, this is really brilliant, everybody. He's like really showing you how you can change your trajectory, your timeline creation when you're in a different relationship with the energies that are already here in your life. In that awareness, in that like opening up to it in a different way and partnering with it in a different way. It's not like we erase the past. It's not like we don't, be who we are. It's that it all becomes something that it's like it all becomes an advocate instead of an adversary. And so you're able to create with the power of it in new ways. And like you just showed, you're like, yeah, I take this these awarenesses, and there's this integration. It's moving forward in a new way. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I love how you can pick up the translation of my vibrational field.
It's good. Well, you're showing it, like you're like, here. That's how I love to work.
This
Yeah.
is so fun. All right, let's get into some Q&A. Daniel, let's go with you first. If you'll please unmute.
Oh, thank you very much for taking my question.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
It seems like I've been guided my whole life. Things have been kind of easy at times, and when they weren't, I would be lying on the ground or sitting on a stone, and then things would become clear. When I learned about Reiki and started reading about it and felt it, I just became in tune to it, and I'm able to do it and heal myself and heal others. And I was just wondering if it keeps getting deeper and deeper. Is that all right that I just continue to find my
Yeah.
own path?
God, you just beautiful, Daniel. So you have such, I love that you're speaking into this, because you're actually, by naming what's happening for you and by asking about it, in a sense, you're also offering it as a guide for anybody else who's interested in doing it this way, which is that what you show me is that you just download information really directly. You just go, you kind of look at it. Somebody's teaching this, or there's this over here. And you have a really open pathway for then that intelligent information to come into you in a knowing, embodied way. So I would call that you have a really strong eighth dimensional connection of divine mind, which is fully intelligent and fully intelligible, and it doesn't have to necessarily have anything to do with understanding of our physical mind. So you have this beautiful interface of, I wonder about that, or I'm interested in that. And you work vibrationally. So you vibrationally absorb it and then you move from it. The only thing that you're showing really is like the mind's going, well, is that it? Is that enough? Is that complete? Is that the thing? And I would just say, absolutely, yes, it is. And it works for you perfectly. And there are lots of people who work that way. And you just kind of bringing that forward gives them even greater permission to proceed in that strength and in that brilliance and clarity. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
You got it. You're welcome. And thank you. Because we're like, yay, there's a bunch of people going, yep, I'll have that too. That's awesome.
Oh, that's so good. All right, let's go to our next caller, Linda. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really super appreciate the chance to talk. Christine, I have been dealing with a lot of people.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, so good to talk to you. I love the bowls. Oh my God, I'm so in love with bowls. What was the note of that bowl?
Oh, yeah. And maybe that was you. That's a G sharp. Minus 25, so it's right, kind of right in that solfeggio range. And I was telling John, it's a roots to wings. It's got smoky quartz and platinum, so it takes us deep and it takes us up and out all at once. It's a super grade, yeah.
Yes, because I kind of saw like a ladder that went all the way up to 11th, like I was a bridge between the lower part all the way up to the 11th dimension, and it felt so good.
Nice.
But I am dealing with a lot of people who are under the control rather than anything else, rather than standing up for their own voice. And I was just wondering if Spirit had anything to say about that.
Thank you, Linda. That's a beautiful question. So the first thing I just want to share with you is that you showed me you love looking at things. So I would suggest to you that there's a certain, not for your person, because personally you have a lot of compassion. You're like, hey, it would be great if you were out of this control paradigm. But from the level of your being, you find that all really interesting and curious. So there's always some kind of invitation for us to embrace the thing that we think is either the problem or shouldn't be that way. And I just see you showing so clearly, actually, at the level of your presence, you're like, I just love looking at things. And I love looking at how different it is and how everybody's doing it. Okay, so in that, you can relax into, oh, that's right. There's an infinite number of ways that people move through, that they move through even awakening in consciousness. And some of them do it through the grind. It doesn't mean it's not happening.
No.
Most of us have a bias, and we'll feel, oh, if somebody's ascending or they're becoming conscious and really right, it looks like this. Not necessarily, because ascension and consciousness is ultimately a huge aspect, is about embracing our power as creators, which means we get to create everything. It's not about a certain only level of vibrational things happening. It's about all of it. So in that, we're really, your invitation in this, the word from Spirit is, as you move into your beautiful, interdimensional, divine heart, is there truly a space of joy for all that you behold? Because we can't, from who we truly are, we can't do anything but love it.
That's true.
And the rest is agenda. And that's actually the egoic part. That's the individual identity talking. Yeah. And that's lovable too. It's just great to see it clearly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
I love looking at your
Delightful.
spirit.
Thank you.
Well, it's funny,
Both
Christine,
of you.
because thank you. You're so sweet. It's funny, Christine, because that agenda is sometimes that we call out in other people so much. We see them as doing wrong in the world, doing this other thing.
Yeah.
This expectation of how people are supposed to purport themselves in conjunction to cultural standards that are really all part of the transcendence that we're all going through.
Yeah. Every piece is a part. Wow. Yeah. And a beautiful channeling came through about this just the other day, like that literally there's really only one team and everybody's a part of the team, including everything that feels like it's on the other team. And that is truly our greatest, most whole perspective of what we are. That's the only way it appears. And then when we drop into the individuated streams, we're on different teams. You know, that's why the whole world loves sports. And I'm always like, why is everybody so into sports? Because it's my team and their team. Anyway, yeah. And from the truest nature of our divine mind and it's all true, actually. Even our separated parts, they're totally true. They're just different. They're more painful. You know, that's where more of the suffering is. But they're true for that dimensional stream. But when we go to the fullness instead of a subset, then we move into oh my God, there's only one team. Okay, brilliant.
So, and so to take it down to another layer, so we're aware of that, and mentally it's like, oh, okay, it's all part of the same. It's all part of the team. How do we take those substances and those thought forms and the creations that we're doing in that fourth dimensional timeline and bring a sense of awareness and discernment and attunement to transcend it, because it's one thing to go, okay, I get that. It's another thing not to get into the embodiment and into the regurgitation of that energetic loop that keeps us stuck in that perpetuation of confusion or superiority or whatever it happens to be.
That is our spiritual practice. That requires choice and practice and choice and practice. Yeah, and we can do it, but we do have to bring it all the way through all the dimensions, and that requires intention and choice and practice.
Mm-hmm. There's a question that came in, and I can answer this based on my perspective, and Christine, you can answer based on what's true for you, and I want to honor what's true for you. Someone asked if they purchased this package, if they could share the recordings and everything with someone else, so they could participate as well. I can tell you, when I've bought other recordings and I've had a partner, of course, I've shared it with them and we've participated together. But for me, leading an online show, knowing that our speakers make a living and support themselves and are able to attune to all of this, there's really an honoring. And so if it's something that's being shared with a friend across, in another city or something else, invite them to the package, invite their own energy into it, and really honor the energetic exchange. And that's what I like to bring to the table, because these calls are provided for free. It costs you your email, and that's not a cost. That's just an exchange, so we can know how to tune into one another and communicate, so that that calls are coming up. But there's a lot of service that's happening here, and there's an invitation into elevated service from the speaker to go into deeper intimacy through a very low priced offering compared to what it would cost if you were to land on their website by themselves and do these other things. So for me, if it's someone, again, if it's a spouse, a partner in the house, you can't help but to share it. But if it's a friend in Georgia and you're in New York, send them the link and have the energetic exchange really be part of the participation in the tithing that is happening, because it gets received in a bigger level that way, as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree. We enter into conscious consent with each other, through these energetic agreements, some of which involve money, because money is another energy. And it's a way of me saying, I want to provide this to you, and you saying, I want to receive, and I want to participate and create with. And I think part of what we're pointing at, and I love the question. Thank you for saying the question. And thank you for the answer, John. And I feel like we're talking to impeccable alignment with our presence. And what do we know about that? What does that guide us to do? Yeah.
I'll have people want to gift me, like, oh, I just signed this up and let me give it to you over here. And it was amazing. Listen to it. And I go, no, give me the link. Tell me where to buy it, because I really want to honor that. Unless it's my partner, then it's, if she's sharing with me, it's like, oh, okay, thank you. Yes, that exchange is a different intimacy and exchange that's happening there. But if it's a friend, want to share a link, it's like, give me the link and let me go ahead and do the energetic exchange, because I'm aware what it takes to create and the energy output and all that. So not a lecture, but also it's an honoring of where you putting your energy when you're outputting. And how do you want to receive? And what's that exchange that you want to be met in as well? And for me, it's a mirror.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Where am I leaking my energy, and where is it feeding me? In relationships, in your job, with your health.
How do I want to be honored for what I bring to the world and what I offer, and the value of that? I love what you just pointed out, because there is no exchange in this way that isn't mirrored in its sort of flip side, and so if we look at it that way, we can sometimes see it differently. That's really, really powerful.
And where am I valuing someone else as a reflection of how I value myself? We can have a whole show.
There's a whole thing on that. That's a good one, though. Thank you for the question, because that just opened up a huge energy field that I think people really want to look at. What I find for myself, I would call it further, though I think that's a linear description that my human mind probably designates. But in the greater expansion of awareness of all that I am, as I fall more deeply into living that and being that, I find that my own call to impeccable alignment with presence better and truer, and I'm getting the angel bumps all the way through, and stronger, and it's the only thing I want to do. Why? Because that's where my empowerment is. It's not actually anymore, it has nothing to do with some moral idea, well, this is a good or a right thing to do. It has nothing to do with that. It actually has to do with alignment with presence, and when I stay fully aligned, damn, look out, world, because here it comes. That's what it's here for. And it's really important. My energy is that important to me. My alignment with what I am is like and when I say I am, I'm talking about how big can we go? That's the most important thing. That's my greatest resource.
Yeah. I forget, what was the service that used to stream music and you just get any music wherever for free? And
Oh,
it was so long ago. Oh my God. Not that
I
long
remember
ago.
what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called. Yeah.
It starts with an S. I forget what it is, but I was using it for a while, and that was also kind of like when the dam broke open for me, and the consciousness is like, oh, hold on a second. And immediately it's like, I've got to stop using that.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like my body felt so tight, and it would hurt, and it was just like, I can't continue. Not Spotify, God, I forget the name.
Yeah,
of it.
I think it was like that though. It was something like that. And it's that idea of, well, I can though. It's right there and I can do it. I can do it because I can. And
everybody else is doing it.
And then you just go, but what?
Napster, yes, Napster. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, Napster. And so it's like, where is my alignment? Like, is my alignment so small and stingy that I have to try and go get something for free that somebody else created and put their whole life into, because that's where I'm aligned? I mean, it's really interesting. Yeah.
The exchange, we can feel it in our body. There's a physical sensation when we're taking more than when there's something out of balance. Yeah. And also the body, how it feels, how we're being taken from.
Yeah, that's the piece I really see, John. Like, people think of in the taking and sort of getting away with something, that there's a receiving in that. I just have to say it's both directions. So if that's, and actually, you know what else? That's an incredibly powerful field of creation. And if that is the resonance, then I would say go all in for it and just have that, because then we're powerful creators, and I'm not going to say one way is better than another, because I can't believe that for a minute. It just creates what it creates. It has its natural outcome. It has, that experience.
And it's funny because I've had this conversation. I'm going to take some more callers, but I have to share this with you guys because there's another component that comes along with it that I want to bring light to. So I've had speakers who were on the show and they're like, oh my God, it's like, I saw the offer that you had and the downloads are available through this Chinese company over here. And what are you doing to protect the thing? See, there's only so much we can do to protect it, and it's going to get out there anyway. But they were so caught up in, I'm worried somebody's going to steal my content.
Oh yeah.
Their platform wasn't growing. Their word wasn't going out because they were being so overprotective with it. So again, there's a balance. And if we start getting into worrying that someone's taking our material, using it, we just know that we put out there what we can, and there's an intelligence also. And if I just kept telling them, if people in China receiving it that otherwise wouldn't be receiving it, consider it free advertising and consciousness awakening, or it wouldn't otherwise, perhaps. But really understanding the scope of just how it's really divinely guided, how it gets out there, and how people will really receive access. So again, giving a free session versus having someone pay for a session, I find that the level of integration and receiving and understanding and alignment takes place when there is a balanced energy exchange compared to when there isn't. It's just, and again, it's a huge topic we can get into, which I won't continue on because I want to take some more live callers. Christine, let's go to Susan or Z. Welcome to the show. If you can unmute yourself. Yes, you'll have to unmute your.
Hi. Hi. Okay, let me preface by saying that I've managed to live my life very close to my dreams, not without a lot of effort, but in situations where I've been able to be graced with incredible things. And I am 68, I just turned 68, and I am becoming aware that I'm very good at being good in my own terminology. And I'm also very giving and loving. And even the work that I do is that, although not everyone thinks real estate is, but I do. But I have this problem that's coming up, and I'm not asking for how to solve the problem so much as how do I heal whatever it is in me that keeps recreating this situation where strange men seem to show up periodically, and one guy has been physically stealing from me for 7 years. It's so completely not what I'm about. And he's taken things like the childhood dress that I loved when I was 3 years old, my grandmother's jewelry. I know that he sells these things, and I've had to do a lot of work within myself about my own self-esteem and how do I present myself and yada, yada. But in this case, I lay in bed the other day and I asked God, what am I doing? And what lesson do I need to have? And I do not believe the lesson is don't hang on to the things you love, so much as it's something I need to learn on a bigger level, maybe from a past life. I know I had some pretty wild brigadier past lives, so
Let's see what Christine brings in.
I'm just not sure how I deal with this in a positive trajectory now.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Z, for the question. And what I really saw the moment that you began speaking, was your heart. Your heart is asking for healing. Your heart is it's interesting. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of there's actually like what I perceive, what you showed me. This is how I would speak, and how
there's actually like
I'm getting an echo. I'm not sure what's happening there.
Also, let me see what's up.
Okay. And so I feel like there's a deep invitation. If you want to look at your part, there's a couple things for heart healing. It's something is around the field of your heart that does not allow it to continue to open and expand actually into its full capacity and in what matches other areas of your life. I'm finding there. Yeah. And so I do see another person, and it feels person like a physical person, perhaps an ancestor, could be a parent, that's actually running their energy through your heart. And so some of the things that it's really interesting to look at, and it's quite almost convoluted because it's not you and it's not your heart. And of course, everything is us. And yet at the same time, this is another individuated energy stream that you've taken on into this identity's body that is really sending out signals, keeping your own heart contained and sort of shrouded and muted, and sending out signals that attract things that you're not interested in experiencing. So I would say that for you, wherever that leads you, in whatever kind of healing work with whatever kind of practitioner, if that's some kind of a physical session, if it's craniosacral, if it's doing this package and receiving heart field transmissions every day, would actually be incredibly helpful for you to soften, open up, and actually we really need some clearing of the other energy that's running through your system, because it's become almost so integrated it feels like yours, but it was somebody else's karma in a sense running through your body. And that does happen, by the way. It seems kind of odd or strange even to speak about it, but it absolutely does happen. We all do it all the time. It's how people most commonly will say, oh, in this way I'm sort of like my mother or like my father. And really what I see a lot of times is their energy actually running through your system. So yeah, that would be the place I would point you toward. Yeah.
Well, psychology even brings in the term inherited trauma. It's recognized.
Well, my mom lived with me for the last 13 years of her life, and I have always known that an ectoplasm surrounds her. I've always fought with that thing I knew there was a risk, but my mother's also a very good person, and I'm pretty sure this is a karmic transmission from God knows how many centuries ago. So if I could
so go in
clear
that
it,
direction.
it would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't see that there's a karmic. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Z, you bring something in, and I'll ask Christine, and thank you so much for coming on the call. So a lot of people talk about clearing. And clearing an energy. It's like, okay, Christine, play a bowl, sing your song, clear me the energy. Thank you very much. And I'm done. And there's a perception, and I'm not saying that's impossible, but there's also an integration of experience and embodiment that wants to take place also. And that isn't always instantaneous. And there's an awareness and an openness for that function to be able to live through our ectoplasm.
Yeah. Bingo. And that's really, it's almost why I just, with you, Z, I just was like, that's the direction you want to go, because what I really hear you calling for is your own embodiment of your mastery with this thing. It's not, and even you even said it, I'm not looking for an answer, but I just need to, what is the way for my own healing? Because that is part of your dharmic task, for you to, in a sense, master and move through. Yeah, absolutely. And there's just like gems, for you in that, and on the other side, so to speak, of that's what you are gifting yourself with in this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that, John. So important.
And I have to bring up also, and by being in this energy and bringing up perhaps an energy of discernment, or an energy, I'm done with this, or this isn't going to continue a lineage, it doesn't mean that you have to diminish your love to do that. Quite the opposite. It's an augmentation of love and an elevation of that, seeing it and being with it from a higher perspective to say, you know what, this doesn't serve in the dimension that I'm choosing to be with this in anymore.
Can I just I want to give a personal example, because everything that I offer, of course, I'm like my guinea pig. And just recently I did have a bodywork session, and it showed me this very thing. And it was my father's energy running particularly through my reproductive organs. And it was his own, and it's amazing I'm talking about this publicly. It was just so powerful, but here it is. It's really a teaching moment. It was his own wounded masculine and lack of self-esteem, that the only way it could happen was literally by running through my body. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. And I, of course, part of it felt like really violating, and it was. And also part of it, I'm in full conscious awareness that there's agreement at the level of creation, why, for my own mastery. So that very thing John was just describing, and as I was saying, okay, well, this ends now, and this body is not your vehicle, and there is no path for these energies to run. And then I got to be an incredible honoring of him, wow, to show up in that role and in that capacity, which feels in very, very violating in a sense, because it brought me to a whole new level of freedom. And I just, literally felt like I was bowing at his lotus feet as the being that he is, for coming into that embodiment, for me to have that part of the path of empowerment, because it's like that experience of violation or of constriction unleashed so much power in me, so much clarity, so much balance, and whole new embodiments of masculine, feminine, androgyny, with crystalline worlds of both the masculine mind and the feminine creative womb, and it just took off and went in every possible way. And so then I'm sitting there in awe, all because he and I made an agreement that I got to feel, sort of constricted by, and work my way through in mastery. So yeah, it's what's available.
Z, thank you so much for calling in. And Z, for you, I would recommend this program highly. And for everybody on the call, again, it's working with Christine is phenomenal. April is going to put the link in the chat box again, so you know where to find it. Again, it's $147, 2 payment options, 2 live calls, the video classes, the activations, the sound healing. You know where to find the page. It's all on there. Highly recommend it. Christine, I want to go to another caller. We're running in any minutes, but we're going to go a little bit over, if that's okay, Christine.
Yeah.
I want to go to Linda. Linda, let's go to you now.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I have a maybe rather strange question, but on the different dimensions, are there different unity communities? I mean, I used to do a lot of, I've been through some very extreme situations in my life, and I always thought that by going through that I could relate differently to people to help them. But now I'm finding that as I ascend more, I'm just so open to everything that everyone's feeling. And so I guess I'm just looking for guidance or something that might come to light from this.
So I hear
so I
you.
can be better service.
Yeah. Are you talking about like extreme empathy, where you feel like you're just feeling everything so much that it's not just because you've experienced it, but because you're so aware of their experience?
It's becoming more like that of everything. Before it used to be of certain things that people had gone through, but now it feels like everything.
Okay. Yeah. So
I want to bring up clarification also, because I get this. Do you feel like everybody's truth is your truth as well?
Not so much, but I just feel it.
Good.
You know,
yeah.
I'm having a hard time dealing with it the more that I open myself up to everything.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So you're
answering.
not so much a shapeshifter and sort of moving into their reality as you're just experiencing it from where you sit. Yeah, I get that. So, the first thing that you showed me, super interesting actually, is you just started talking. I was like, oh, you're really, you as the being has this readiness to completely transcend the identity aspect, which has been, okay, here are the things I've experienced and they make me available to people in such and such way. And so right now I see you in a transition zone between interfacing your experience, first primarily between your own experiences and now in awareness of other experiences. It's time, you're giving yourself this huge clarion call. It's time to live beyond all of the experiences as awareness in compassion. So the difference, what that plays out for you, is that you don't have to feel what everybody else is feeling. You're stepping into the path of mastering awareness with beyond empathy, where it doesn't have to only be interfaced through your emotions and your body and your thoughts. You actually are present in a bigger way. Right now, as your energy and your identification goes into more the specific aspects of you and your life, you get buffeted everywhere. You just get completely thrown around by everything here. You're calling yourself to move into a wider, more spacious field of awareness where you can hold a center that can have awareness of those things without feeling them all. I think John was pointing out how you can kind of become them, somebody else's truth or experience. And that's another aspect that a lot of people do, probably several listening in this moment. Does this make sense, what I'm saying to you? Does it give you a sense of, there's an option here?
It does. I'm trying to, because when I'm in nature and I'm with different groups, I am so in that. Everything is so pure, so pure. But then when I carry that out into the world,
okay, hang on.
it changes.
So yeah, you actually don't carry it into the world. You leave it behind. You leave your pure space behind, and you go out into the world without it, and then you're like, holy crap, this does not work out. Okay. You need to stay with yourself, with your wholeness of being. And if you have to imagine that you're carrying around a little cathedral of nature with you while you walk through the store, then you do that. You're in the process of learning, how do I stay with the fullness of what I am in awareness when it's not triggered in the good way by nature or by a wonderful, loving, supporting group? How do I hold that vibrational reality? How do I stay with that? That's your path of mastery right now. And that's, again, awareness, choice, practice, and you'll develop tools of how you bring your world with you. You don't leave your world behind. Oh my God, there is nothing more painful than going out in the world bereft of our own presence. It's painful, it hurts, and it will get our attention every time. So every time that you do that, thank it. Because you're like, holy crap, that got my attention. I am fully paying attention now because this is excruciating. Allow that to be your master guide, okay? And allow it to remind you how you're going to do it. All right? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Oh God, I love it.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you so much for sharing. And Christine,
You're welcome.
you've named it. I mean, it's the practice. It's like, oh, we brought it in. We've noticed. Oh, I didn't like that. Let me bring that. Let me remember. Okay, now let me bring it in. And the more we practice, the less lag time there is in the remembering. And soon enough, it just becomes your normal.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got to practice.
It's too painful the other way. Yeah. And that's a big vantage point shift is, oh, what if this is not this horrible thing that keeps happening to me, but it is like the most efficient guide I could possibly have toward exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful. I want to take another caller. It's Lisa. You're on the line. Let's go to you. And Lisa, before you start, let me just tell everybody again, we're going to run the replay all weekend long. It'll be up. We'll send the replay link out in the email. And of course, Christine's package, which I already told you where to find it. You find the chat box. You already have the link. I've said it, I think, 10 times already on the call today. But I hope you dive in with Christine. And again, Christine, thank you for that special offer.
Welcome.
And Lisa, thank you for being here. What's your question?
Thank you for taking me. I've had a couple powerful things happen in my life over the years. One was I was meditating and I had a really great physical healing that I was asking for and I wanted. And then another one, which was just huge, is my son was staying home alone. Well, his dad was supposed to stay with him. He didn't. I was out of town. And he called and said, I'm going to stay alone tonight. And it was the first time he had stayed alone and I was out of town. So I'm just, I can't even explain how upset I was. So I'm drifting off to sleep and I was here. I am seeing myself walking down the hall, go into his room. I sit on the side of his bed and I put my hand up and I don't know what it was, like something was coming down toward him and I just sent it away. And then I was back at my sister's house. And I mean, I know I was here. I know this. I know. I just don't tell me I wasn't here because I know I was here. So why can't I just do stuff like that? What triggers something like that when I think it so critically? It was there, but it was
okay. You know, it's really beautiful, Lisa. You're kind of showing that you're functioning according to angelic rules, which is that, you know, the angels will step in if we ask them, but otherwise they're going to honor our free will. And the only time they'll intervene otherwise is if it's a life death situation, you know, bodily harm. And then maybe that'll be the exception. So it's almost like you've set up this contract with your presence that way, and I would suggest, boy, you showed me really clearly a whole bunch of stuff in your sacral chakra area that it would be really great for you to dive into relationship with yourself in very detailed ways, because this mastery within you, it's in your body, it's in your personality, it's in the gifts that you brought into this lifetime, and somehow you're not really self-identified with them. That's why I'm looking at that second chakra area. So it has to do with your self-concept, which in a sense alienates you from all of your capacities. Even though I was thinking, who are you proving this to as you were talking? Who is it you're trying to convince? And then I thought, oh, it's you. You're trying to convince you. It really did happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
Right,
I believe,
right.
Yeah. And so you showed me the disconnect in your own relationship with your full presence of doubt and of not really being sure. I would just say dive into, in your meditative times, you had that amazing healing in meditation, go into it deeply and ask to be shown and to experience what you are, and to have that be made available to you in the ways that are in service to your deepest soul alignment. I'm going to say that again. This is bunches of people can benefit from this. Go into your meditation, connect deeply with all that you are, and ask to be shown the fullness of your presence and how your experience of that, and how that is made into alignment with your soul's purpose in this body, in this lifetime, so that can become demonstrable action in your experience. Yeah, really go in and ask and go in. It's funny. I come in both like bossy and completely open, like show me this. And I have no idea. I wonder. So I'm totally open, so like there's a clear, really strong intention. I'm really asking very clearly, show me. It's almost more of a directive. And I realize humanly, I may have no idea. So I'm going to be holding both of those roles at once, my masterful self that totally knows, and the part of me that has no idea. And I'm going to ask very clearly for that to be bridged in my awareness and experience. Yeah.
I love it. That's such, I love the way you see that, Christine. And Lisa, it's really cool because, and Christine, I'd love for you to add up upon this, because the ownership of it is so important. And so the next time you share this experience, tell it like it's the 5 o'clock news, not Alice in Wonderland.
Right. That's
Right.
a good, that's a very interesting. Yeah, I mean, people, I go to astrologers and they're like, "Oh, you're so intuitive," and I'm like, "What? I am," you know, that kind of thing. So that does resonate. I need to believe what I am doing.
I don't think you need to believe. I think you need to share from your truth and own your truth. It's not about believing. It's about, oh, this is true for me. This is aligned. This is what happened. And just.
It is aligned.
Right.
Yeah.
It happened. I mean,
it's matter of fact. And really the larger thing that you're pointing out, which is so helpful for this conversation, is that we're in all on varying levels, because we all are. And some of us, it's like, oh no, I know that stuff happens all the time. But there's some other thing that we're like, but do I really walk through walls? Or, you know, how does that work? We all have our level of where in our sort of dimensional capacity, and we're always being called to embrace more of it and to claim it. And I tell you what, it's powerful when you start going, I mean, John did it to me, honestly. He sort of shoved it on me the very first time, or one of the times it was like, channel Christine. And I was like, channel? I had never self-identified. And he's like, sorry, you're busted. Or my friends would say, well, you're psychic. And I'd be like, no, I'm not psychic like you. And I finally went, why am I telling myself this lie? Why am I arguing with this here? And I just decided to stop and start saying yes. Totally calling myself out on that one.
I remember that time.
I know, it was awesome.
Met you, I was like, what are you holding back? It's like,
I know. And then I had a cute little story about being a late bloomer. And then it's like, sorry, the blooming is always so on time and so fully in fruition. So yeah, no more of the negating stories. I just quit. I was like, who made that rule? Yeah.
So amazing, Lisa.
Much.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for being on the call.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God, Christine, we can go on
forever. It's so fun. Oh, it's good.
It's so fun. Will you leave us with a little sound transmission before we end the call?
Absolutely. That's a beautiful idea. Let's do it. Yeah, we'll do some sound and then we'll just float off into the beyond where we all already live.
Right, so I'm gonna go above and beyond where this other place that I live now, and just bow down and namaste to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being on the call. And I hope you receive this beautiful transmission from Christine in the heart open, expansive way that's just perfect for you right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Now is the time for the blessing. The blessing of our hearts as one. We are truly the beloved. We are clearly the beyond. We are free in the power. We are free in the power of the now of our freely being. All is in the now, in the clearness of the moment. We are whole and free. Nothing needed, nothing wanted. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. All is
Blessings, everybody.